Health and Fitness with David Hollywood.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports. dssports.ie.
Good evening and welcome to Health and Fitness. I'm Sinead Hubble, standing in for David Hollywood. Coming up this evening, you'll hear about a new initiative that has been launched to screen for lung cancer. A Westmeath running club is looking for your memories to mark their 50th anniversary. And how long can you balance on one leg? Because it could tell you how quick you're ageing. But first, this week on Midlands 103, we heard from some of the runners who took part in the Dublin City Marathon. And this evening, we're going to turn our attention to an even more gruelling challenge. A Westmeath man was among those who took part in the Polar Circle Marathon last weekend in Greenland. With freezing temperatures and rough terrain, it is as challenging as it gets. Ollie Green braved a snow, ice and the bitter cold. Good evening, Ollie. What possessed you to sign up for this?
Good evening. Yeah, so I suppose the first thing, I was looking for a challenge to do. You know, I suppose I was... I do a lot of running anyways, you know, so, and as I was saying, you know, a few years ago, I was told I probably wouldn't be able to run certain distance or maybe run at all because of an operation I had on my heel and my ankle. So with that, you know, I just thought this year, God, would there be a marathon in, you know, would I be able to do it without any injuries or that? So I was searching for something different, and I want something a little bit more extreme and something a little bit out there. So I stumbled across this company that was advertising the Polar Marathon, and it was basically up in Greenland. And conditions wouldn't have been too favourable. So we signed up for that. That's kind of the reason, and I just wanted something a bit tougher and a little bit somewhere different.
And you kind of brushed it off there, but the injury that you had to your foot was quite severe because you had to have pins and plates put in it, so you did think your running days were over. Yeah,
well, I was told, because what happened was I broke it, and then during the surgery they had to re-break the whole heel and kind of fit it back in together and put the pins and plates and that in it. So it was a flexibility thing. And then what used to happen, so when they told me I couldn't because I just wouldn't be able to move whatever the bone did, I would be honest with you, I never really listened to them when they were telling me that I could never run again, because I figured that I probably would, you know, because they're just, you know, trying to keep you on the straight and narrow. But I started doing 5K, and when I'd go over 5 kilometres, then the next day I could be limping for 2 days. And this was going on for years now. And then sometimes when I'd go over maybe getting close to 10K, then I'd have to stop because of my ankle. And this is even up till 2 years ago. So I never thought I'd do much more than maybe 10K. And then this January I decided, I think I might just see will my foot be able, and just put mind over matter. And I started going out and I started increasing the mileage slowly but surely. And I was getting it up to, you know, close enough to 15 half marathon pace without too much bother. And I've it tested now, so I'll sign up for the full thing now.
For somebody who doesn't know the Polar Circle Marathon, what is it and what does it involve?
Yeah, so it's up in Iceland. It's a place called, I'll try and do it justice, it's Kangerlussuaq. It's up on the west coast of Greenland, so it's only access point to the proper ice caps up there. So the Polar Marathon starts in Greenland, so you go into the airport. It's a funny little village, beautiful little village, but there's only really 2 roads in it. One comes from the harbour and the other goes up to the ice cap, and that's it. And then there's mountains all around you. So it starts up on the mountains on the ice cap. So the first about maybe 7 kilometres of the run is on complete ice. So we had to get special ice for the crampons for the bottom of our runners, so we wouldn't be slipping, because you literally wouldn't walk on the ice, you know yourself now, and especially when you've gone up over hills and that on the ice as well, like you'd never survive without the crampons on you. So that was the major factor there. And then the temperature wise, like, it's obviously, with the thing about Greenland, we think we're bad here in Ireland, but in Greenland, like, it changes minute per minute. Like, they could tell you no snow today, and then the next thing was getting clothing right was a big thing for us, you know. It was and And then, I suppose compared to any other marathon, like there was a serious amount of hills, and I was kind of, when I was training, I was trying to take into consideration, look, it's going to be just so much hills after getting off the ice, and then to navigate them hills and to make sure that you have enough fuel and you have enough clothing that you're not over sweating, but yet you're not getting cold.
It sounds like there needs to be a lot of preparation into something like this, because how do you train for running on ice when you don't have ice here to train on?
Yeah, honestly, you just wing it. There's not much, you know what I mean? Like, because of the weather so mild, like you can just, like, the thing when you're moving, it's the thing. But yeah, with the ice, we landed in Greenland on the Thursday of last week, and then Friday we went up and we done sort of a course inspection. But in between, on the Thursday night before we went to go up on the Friday, Thursday night it snowed an awful lot. So it was probably, in the village there was close to 6 inches of snow, so up in the mountain there was probably maybe a foot or that. So, or maybe between 6 and 8 inches, I suppose, up in the mountain. So when we got up there was a lot of snow. And then we just had a practice, so they let us go up and practice walking on the ice and doing a bit of a run, that circuit that we would be doing on the ice cap the next day. So it kind of gave us a good idea, and a bit of slipping, and that was the biggest thing, that you didn't want to fall on the ice and hurt yourself. So like the whole thing was just take your time on the ice, and the fact that we're going through the snow as well kind of slowed things down a certain amount as well. But that's all we could do, like, and just take it easy on the ice. Find, and with the practice on the Thursday or the Friday, that made all the difference. Like, got a bit more confidence there. Yeah, these things actually work, and trust the grip.
You mentioned clothing. What kind of clothing did you need for it, or how did you dress for the actual marathon then? Yeah. Because you don't want to get too hot and you don't want to be too cold.
Yeah, layers was the big thing. Like, it was kind of using merino wool, under armour, stuff like that, to just, like, the legs, I suppose, from the bottom up. Like, I was doing just had your ordinary runners, and then I had a pair of merino wool socks on, which I normally wouldn't use running, but then I just had a pair of merino wool again, leggings, or under, the Under Armours, and then I had a pair of running leggings over that, and then just upper body, because I wasn't, like, the legs, a lot of times, because you're moving them more so. And then the biggest thing was sweating, upper body sweating, because that's where I knew that. But that's what the one side of it, we had 3 layers on. I had Under Armour, and then I had 2 kind of Under Armours, and then a jacket, a light running jacket, and then obviously gloves and hats. So that was kind of, and once, like, you kind of get to try them out on the Friday as well, just to make sure that you have, temperature-wise, you're pretty good, like.
What was the temperature like when you were running?
When we started off, and we got to the top on the Saturday morning when we were starting, and that was at 8:30 in the morning. It was still dark, so it was so cold when we getting out of the bus. Like, it was just horrendously cold. But,
was that when you started regretting it?
Yeah, you're starting to question it. God, will I not? And you're just thinking, and then you start, a little bit of panic sets in a small way, but not, once you get out then and the starting line, because they're just literally within, like, you're not out of the bus 5 minutes and then the race is starting, because they don't want people standing around the cold there for 10 or 15 minutes. But there was definitely wind chill between, at the -10, -15. People said there was a little bit colder, but, and then after that, the day, as I was joking with someone, the day warmed up to a nice -5 then after that. But now, one thing that did happen on the ice, now probably made a little bit of a mistake, wearing 2 gloves, layering, or, when you're putting on gloves and stuff, it's never a good idea to be wearing 2. It's like wearing 2 pairs of socks when you're in the cold. It's a bad idea, because I wore 2 pairs of gloves, and I was halfway through the glacier, and my left hand, the index finger and the next one too, it just, I could lose the sensation, and they were just that cold. They were just getting numb, so I just had to take the glove off kind of and put it on a different way, and it was fine. Again, I got off the ice then, it was perfect for the rest of the day, so I just stitched 1 pair of gloves and kept going. So that's and same with the hat, like wearing 2 kind of running hats, you're building up sweat between the layers. It's just, I should have known, then the things you say, oh God, I knew that and I shouldn't have done it, but it wasn't major anyway.
You have to learn these lessons as you go sometimes.
You do, exactly, again, yeah.
And when it came to breathing then, because even when it's cold here, it does have the impact on your breathing. So how did you manage to prepare for that?
Yeah, again, it was just like, we didn't have like, my weather when I was training, even I normally was getting out to run very early in the morning, but it was so mild here, like it was very hard to. But the first definitely 3 kilometres, I could feel my heart rate, and you're up in a bit of altitude anyway, so I could feel my heart rate higher and the breathing was harder to just get into a rhythm. But once I got going then, and just less concentration on it, and I was just keeping so focused on my footwork, and like even like some of the ice we had to go up, like we had to actually use ropes to get up there that steep, like, so you wouldn't have, so we had to get 2 sections, we had ropes up and ropes down, like you just were so steep to go up, so that was challenging to an extent, but it takes your mind then off the breathing, and then you just sort of regulate everything as you're going.
And what was the scenery like?
You could know the ice cap, it was just it was out of this world now. It was just so beautiful for miles all around you, like you're just ice and snow everywhere. And then when we got off the ice, then you're overlooking the lakes and everything else up there, on one side thawed and the other not, and it was just beautiful. Now that's what it was. It was just, and that's kind of what when you're going along, you're just taking in the beauty of it, and then you're coming across a few spots, the reindeers are up, a few times we spotted a few reindeers, and which nice, it just takes, but it was just the rolling hills, like it was just one hill after another, and it was fairly extreme. But now, in fairness, the company that organised it, like they had a warm water stop every 5k. They just had a man stationed, someone there with electrolytes, and so everyone could get a drink if they needed, if they were getting cold, and they had a vehicle there if people wanted to get in just to warm themselves up if it got too extreme, but it was well organised now. Did
you have any injuries from it?
No, the only thing now the next morning, because I'd say when we had come, I knew, because I picked up an injury in my knee just a couple of weeks before, and that was my major concern. I didn't really tell too many people I was going to do it, and just in case my knee, I was worried about my knee, and that was the big thing. But once I got the miles in and a few steep hills, I just decided, I'm just going to pull it back and walk a few of the hills, because I knew it would stress and stretch the legs another way and just take the pressure off my knee. But the next morning, that night when we were staying in kind of hotel things, and I pulled the wrong straw, and I was up in the top bunk, so I woke up in the middle of the night and the pain in my ankle was just throbbing. It was so sore. So a painkiller later, that was all sorted. But no, there was no, thankfully, during the whole thing, it was just no issues at all, and just kept pushing through, and it was but if you're going through a section, like no more than, you have lovely sunshine there, come out there on 10 or 11 o'clock during the day, or even before that, and then you'd go around to the shade part, but it was like walking from your warm kitchen into, that's because you're heated. Next thing you go into the shade part, and it was just like you walked into a fridge, like this cold air just hits you out of nowhere, and you're...
It sounds an absolutely incredible challenge to undertake, but it wasn't your first marathon. You've done a couple over the years.
Yeah, the last one I done was actually in New York, and it's a good while. I can't remember what year it was. It was definitely, it was before I hurt my ankle that time, so that was maybe a year before that, so that's 7 or 8 years ago since I done my last marathon. So it's a good while ago, for sure. But like I say, I've been just chipping away and building up over the years, doing a few, because a few years ago I done a 5k challenge there one January for Jack and Jill Foundation. Just to see, because I constantly do 5 kilometres a day. So, and then I just kept the fitness up as much as you could for that. But like anyone training for any marathon, it's a tough day out one way or the other, regardless what marathon you're doing. Like, because it's a long couple of hours there, and and especially a marathon up there, in the likes of Greenland, you're not worrying about a time or anything else. And I think that took a lot of pressure off as well. It was just all about just getting across the finish line safe and sound. Like the hills was the big thing. And even it's getting the clothing, and then you're getting like you're talking 3 layers in your jacket and you're sweating and you're kind of thinking, and then when you're going into the colder section and you're zipping down and next thing your top is freezing underneath and you're going, and you're just more fearful because if you get cold, it'll just really set you back. And that was the biggest kind of fear. And I didn't want, like, you could carry a bag with you, but it's extra weight and, you don't want to be, so it was definitely but I think once you got into it and you knew that, I left the bag just with spare clothing at kilometre 30, just a change of top and that. So I knew then, all I need to do is get to 30 kilometres and I can change, put on a dry top and, just finish off then that. But it was fine. It was fine, you just.
Ollie, what's next on the cards? Have you another one lined up?
Nothing at the moment. The next day, I'd never done one of them again. And of course, the guys over there, like there was a brilliant. So you never next year, never know what'll take the motion next year. Now there's a lot more. Like I think about Greenland. Like when we get talking to the people up there and stuff like that, there's so many other activities up there and stuff. It's definitely a country I'd like to explore a lot more of. Anyway, it's absolutely stunning up there. But yeah, you don't know. Look, we'll find something for sure next year to occupy that.
Well, look, Ollie, best of luck with whatever you decide that you're going to do. Thank you very much for sharing your story of the Polar Circle Marathon with us this evening on Health and Fitness.
No worries at all.
Still to come this evening, how long can you balance on one leg? Because it could tell you.
Health and Fitness.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports at 085 871 5311 or info@dssports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
How long can you stand on one leg? Well, a new study has linked our ability to balance on one leg with how well we're ageing. Researchers have found that balance is more than just a sign of coordination. It's a powerful measure of our overall health as we get older. The research appeared in the journal PLOS1 and scientists tested 40 healthy, independent people over the age of 50 on walking, balance, knee and grip strength. So what does it really mean for us in our everyday lives? How can we use balance exercises to stay strong, steady and active well into our later years? Well, Maurice Luby from Maurice Luby Fitness in Westmeath is the man with all the answers. Good evening, Maurice.
Good evening, Sinead.
How long can you stand on one leg for?
Well, I don't remember actually ever timing myself, but a good while. I would imagine. I would hope, because I do a lot of sport and one of the sports I do is well, the main sport I do at the moment is badminton, and that involves a lot of balance on left and right leg balancing and lunging and sidestepping and so on.
The study suggests that balance and how long we can balance on one leg is a key indicator of ageing. So why is balance such an important measure of health?
Well, I think it's related to your strength and your coordination, and also your mental function. And I believe your inner ear is very important for balance. And all of these abilities, if you like, tend to deteriorate with age. But we can certainly slow that process of deterioration, if you like, down by staying active, or as active as we can, without going over the top with it. Because obviously, as we get older, we're not able for as much as perhaps we were when we were younger. But we certainly don't have to limit ourselves as much as maybe perhaps people traditionally thought.
Because as you do age, and once you pass 30, 40, 50, you feel more aches and pains gradually creeping in. So what exercises or routines can we be doing?
Okay, so the important thing is to stay active. I mean, that is, we've always known that, but I think people are realising it. Health professionals are realising it more and more now in recent years, that it's more important than we realised before to stay active, especially when you get older, say over the age of, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And walking alone, they say, is not necessarily enough. Really, we need to be incorporating some sort of resistance type of exercises into our daily routines. That means kind of lifting, pushing, pulling, dragging, if you like. But just, walking is great now, don't get me wrong. It's fantastic, and it's great for the cardiovascular, it's great for strength and mobility and so on. But we do need to improve or try to maintain our muscle density and our muscle mass, because that does deteriorate more quickly as we get older, more so in your 50s, more so in your 60s and so on. But we can greatly slow down that aging process by incorporating a few basic changes into our lives, which would include some sort of resistance training. So, and I'm not talking about necessarily going to a gym, just small little things like maybe a little bit of gardening or lifting things, taking the stairs instead of taking the elevator, for example. Like stair climbing is really good for the lower body and for the heart and lungs. But any opportunity we get to lift things, now they don't have to be heavy. In fact, they shouldn't be. But because we don't want to strain ourselves. But just to try and make little tweaks in our lifestyle. Staying mobile is really important. So, obviously, as people retire, they do tend to do less physical activity. But it's then, especially when perhaps we should start planning our daily routines and planning them around some small bit of exercise. I think 30 minutes combined per day is the minimum recommended by the World Health Organization. Now, that doesn't have to be 30 minutes continuous. It could be 5 minutes and then a rest of an hour and then 10 minutes. And it could be 10 minutes in the evening and 5 minutes before you go to bed at night. But if we can sort of plan routines like that and incorporate them into our daily life, it would greatly improve our aging experience physically and mentally.
I recently came across a TikTok video where it was saying to test your balance, stand on one leg and close your eyes. Have you ever tried that, Maurice?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have indeed many times. It's I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's a lot more difficult, of course, because you're losing that sense. But your balance is definitely affected as you close your eyes. But yeah, it's a good thing to practice, and it's a good thing to practice it on your non-dominant leg. So if you're right-footed, right-handed, you try to balance on your left leg, and then even do little squats down, little mini squats. So what I mean is just bend the leg, lower the leg slightly, lower your hips slightly, while standing on one leg. That in itself is a really good exercise. If you did 10 on each leg 3 times a day, 10 little dips, little mini squats, if you like, up and down on each leg. Every day, 3 times a day, that would really improve people's their life, their physical well-being and their mental well-being really an awful lot. Look, I don't want to compare everything to running a marathon, but it is like running a marathon insofar as the body remembers. If you get into a routine, you do it every day. You do it without thinking about it. Now, it's not I'm not saying it's as difficult as running a marathon, but the principles of training are the same, no matter if you're an elite runner or if you're an older person in their 70s or 80s. Okay, the principles of training are the same. Our body doesn't differentiate in that respect. The muscles will still react. The muscles will still react. The memory will still react to stimulus placed on it. And if we keep that going as a routine, we will benefit globally from it, just like we would when we were 10 years old or if we're 90 years old.
Maurice Luby from Maurice Luby Fitness in Westmeath. Thanks very much for joining me this evening. I'm going to practice closing my eyes and balancing on my non-dominant leg then for the rest of the evening.
Good. Do it for the rest of the month, Sinead. Do it for the rest of the month.
And we'll come back and I'll tell you how I get on.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Maurice.
Or info@dssports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
Midlands Running Club is working on a new book to commemorate 50 years of their existence. Mullingar Harriers says it will feature interviews with club members, past and present, who made their mark on and off the track. Well, Jason McKevitt, who's a member of Mullingar Harriers, is joining me now to tell me a little more about it. Good evening, Jason. Can you tell us a bit about the inspiration behind creating this book for Mullingar Harriers' 50th anniversary?
Well, I suppose the inspiration behind this is that Mullingar Harriers is a very successful athletic club, not only in the Midlands and in Ireland, and it's celebrating 50 years in existence come next year. So we came together, and I know one of the founders there, Bobby Begley, who's I call him the Jimmy McGee of athletics, because there's nothing this man doesn't know about athletics. He can go times, dates, athletes, you name it, no matter the year, he can do it. So Bobby, one of the founders, John Mulvihill, and a few others, we came together, Michael O'Sullivan, we came together, and with the look at reviewing and putting a book together to celebrate 50 years of Mullingar Harriers and the successes over the years. So that's kind of the inspiration, because Mullingar Harriers, for a lot of people in Mullingar, and I suppose the Midlands, has been a rite of passage. You know, people have passed through it, and it's now a time to celebrate all that's gone through Mullingar Harriers.
And the book is going to feature interviews with members past and present, so I imagine there's going to be a lot of stories to choose from. So how are you going to narrow it down to pick the ones that make it?
Well, that's actually a great one, because you know, we're looking at how the book is going to be laid out, and I think at this stage, with all the people that's come through, with all the fine athletes, with all the characters in the club over the past 50 years, it's nearly an encyclopedia we're going to have to put together as opposed to a book. But we're going to get there. So how are we going to do it? Well, I suppose the way we're looking at the layout of the book initially, we have a little sort of a template we can work on. And we have the original story. So we looked at maybe at the draft ideas. So let's say athletics in the Mullingar area from about 1900 up to about 1975 when Harriers was founded. And we look at that, and I'm going to look at that with the history, of course. I'm going to look at different clubs, and that's where we look at Knockdrin Athletic Club, which was a great little club here just outside Mullingar, and indeed the original Mullingar Athletic Club, which was under the NACA formation, whereas Mullingar Harriers is under the BLE formation. Now, that's a book in itself, the discussion. At one stage we had two Mullingar Athletic clubs in the mid to late 70s. But anyway, we'll go on, and then we look at international honours and scholarship winners and Olympians. So these are things that we'll be looking at in the book as well. And looking at even the club itself, starting from a green field up in the Grange area of Mullingar to being one of the, you know, a fine centre now with an indoor track, a 400-metre track, and, you know, a club that's really thriving. And looking at profiles of people over the years that's been involved with Harriers. And indeed, people that maybe could have been members of Harriers had they been around when Harriers was founded in 1975.
There was a book published to mark the 25th anniversary in 2000. How is this one going to differ? Or are you going to follow on from what's already been published?
Well, I suppose it'll differ in slightly in that, yes, it'll be very similar. It'll be a victorial, because that's what we hope to have in it. There'll be sort of profiles of people over the years, and definitely John Mulvihill, Bobby Begley would definitely feature in this, but also club members over the years. But I suppose what it'll also do, it'll also actually bring up to date, you know, 25 years later, what the club has gone through since that, and the athletes that's come through as well. So I suppose it'll be similar to the 25-year edition, but there'll be a little bit more to it. And again, being tasked with a little bit of history, a little bit of prehistory as well of what went on before Harriers was founded in the town. So giving people a taster to that, so to speak.
What kind of contributions are you hoping to gather from the community, the county, the Midlands in general? Are you looking for photos, memorabilia, or just stories?
Well, yeah, a bit of everything there that you mentioned there, but definitely memorabilia, photos. I mean, for instance, there I've been looking at Knockdrin Athletic Club there, and Bobby asked me, he said, look, will you put something together there, Knockdrin Athletic Club? It was a little club that was very successful from about 1949 to the early to mid 1960s, so much 1950s this club existed, and it was an excellent club. So it's probably, even with that, I carried out research in that club, and we see that the main coach there was Jerry Lestrange, and Jerry Lestrange was a Fine Gael senator, and he became a TD, Junior Minister of Defence, and one of the finest coaches in Ireland, and he was on the executive committee of the NACA, which is the National Athletic and Cycling Association. Now, again, that would have been a sort of a pre-BLE, which came in afterwards, and then they would have been kind of rivals. And now we're all under Athletics Ireland now, thanks God, you know, so you don't have that little bit of politics anymore. But what we'd be looking at there is sort of anyone with photographs in that period from the Knockturn area, let's say. I mean, I'm sure there's probably stuff at home, or even we know something there through research. There was a thing called the Redmond Cup and the Brennan Cup. Do these cups still exist? Are they in an attic somewhere in Mullingar or Knockturn somewhere? Sometimes, people might have stuff and go, oh, so what's that? And this might jog their memory hearing me looking for that. So that type of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
This is going to be a huge volume of work. So how big is the subcommittee that's going to work on it?
There's about 5 or 6 of us, I suppose. Look, everyone in the club kind of pulls together, but the book subcommittee, I mean, there's John Mulvihill, there's Bobby Begley, there's myself, there's Declan Costello, there's Rodney Farry, and there's Michael O'Sullivan as well, and others as well, of course. But I suppose with a little subcommittee, from my own experience, you're better off keeping it tight, because sometimes if you have it too big, it can be very onerous and to get stuff done. Whereas when you have a tight little committee, you can get things done. And there's a lot of work without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I think our deadline to have this ready for publication will be by next summer or early next autumn. So you'll be talking about next September, I believe, will be the plan. But we hope to have the sort of the background of a book or the sort of template of what we're going to achieve ready by the new year. Getting it ready. So it will be onerous. There'll be a lot of work in it, but we can do it. We're well on the way. It's just when we edit this and format it should look good.
If people want to get in touch with a story or a photo, how do they contact you?
Well, look, they can contact me. My email, jasonmckevitt@gmail.com, and I'd be delighted to speak with people if people want to get through me there, or they can contact the club as well, go through the website or that Mullingar Harriers there on our website. But again, there could be anything there, and especially there's a link there as well, because, when you look at the Midlands, you look at Tullamore there, for instance, and we had a couple of great athletes that actually ran with Tullamore back in the 70s, like the Tommy McCormick, Louis Kenny, some fine athletes there. Maybe someone even in Tullamore area could say, oh, hang on, there might be something there we may have there as well, of old photographs of these athletes as well.
So was there a little bit of competition between Tullamore and Mullingar?
There would have been at the time, and again, this not necessarily goes through the fact that one place was Tullamore and the other was Mullingar. It was actually the codes, whether the NACA or whether it were BLE, and that seemed to be, especially up until for a period of time in the 70s, 80s, this would have been a bit of rivalry, of course. But I think when Mullingar Harriers was founded, we come under the code of BLE. So I suppose with Harriers, there's a friendly rivalry between Mullingar Harriers and Tullamore Harriers, but we get on fierce well,
Very diplomatic, Jason. Well, Jason McKevitt, member of Mullingar Harriers and local historian, thanks very much for joining me this evening on Health and Fitness.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Still to come this evening, you'll hear about a new initiative that has been launched by the Irish Cancer Society to bring lung cancer screening to your local area.
Health and Fitness
with DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports at 085 871 5311 or info@dsports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
A new initiative is being launched to screen for lung cancer. The new mobile unit will bring state-of-the-art care to local communities. To tell us more about the initiative, Avril Power, CEO of the Irish Cancer Society, joins me now. Avril, we're delighted to have you on the show this evening about this exciting new project. Can you start by telling us about how this new mobile lung health unit will work?
Well, lung cancer kills more Irish people than any other cancer, mainly because it's usually diagnosed late when it's difficult to treat. But it doesn't have to be this way. When caught early, surgery is often the only treatment required, and 9 out of 10 people will survive. Other countries are picking up lung cancers earlier through free lung health checks for people at greatest risks, particularly those who have a history of smoking. The Irish Cancer Society wants Irish people to have the same opportunity, so that's why we have announced Ireland's largest ever investment in lung cancer at almost €5 million in partnership with Beaumont RCSI Cancer Centre, where we'll be piloting a free lung health check and also investing in better ways to test for cancer and to improve access to immunotherapies for those with particularly difficult to treat lung cancers.
What is the mobile unit like?
So the mobile unit will be based in the community. So they'll be in the northeast area for the pilot phase, and they will travel around the community in partnership with the GAA. So they'll be coming to GAA grounds across the northeast. People will be invited, so participants will be identified by their GPs, by the GPs that we're working with on the programme. They'll be contacted and given the opportunity to take part. If they take that up, they'll go to a mobile unit in their community, have a 40-minute consultation including breathing tests, discussion about their lung health, and then a quick lung CT X-ray, a quick scan of their chest to see if there's anything there that's problematic. And the amazing thing about the lung CT is that it can pick up very early stage lung cancers before the person could even have noticed any symptoms themselves. And that's when you have the greatest chance of surviving cancer, when it's at a very early stage. It hasn't advanced too far within the lungs. It hasn't moved anywhere else within the body. And CT scans have the power to do that. And that's why we believe that this programme will save lives. Right now, only about 1 in 3 people survive lung cancer. But as I said, if it was caught earlier, 9 out of 10 could. So we're confident that this pilot will save lives for those who take part. And we also hope that in time, it will lead to a free national lung health check for anybody who's at a high risk of cancer, which is what happened with our investment in bowel screening. So the Irish Cancer Society put in an initial investment of €1 million, which led to the introduction then of Ireland's national bowel screening programme, which has saved countless lives since. So we see this as being one of the ways, thanks to our donors, that we're able to improve cancer detection and cancer treatment in Ireland and ensure that more people survive the disease and have a good quality of life afterwards.
So the mobile unit is well kitted out that you can do all the tests and checks that you need to do on site.
Yes, so it has all the technology that's needed for those tests, and then if anything problematic is identified, the person will be, so the GP will be informed, and then they'll be offered follow-up appointments. So if it does find, if it does give indication that there might be cancer, the person would then be forwarded on to the hospital. So that would be either Beaumont Hospital or Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital in Drogheda for follow-up tests and for treatment.
And when will people get the results from their tests? How long will they have to wait?
So I know that the team that are delivering the programme are integrated within Beaumont RCSI Cancer Centre. So there'll be kind of seamless integration, I guess, from the testing into the hospital. And I know their goal will be to fast track people as soon as possible from the lung health check into hospital treatment if they need it. And the liquid biopsies, the blood tests that we're also funding research on, will mean that people will be able to have blood tests done early that can figure out precisely what type of lung cancer they have and give them fast-tracked access to more tailored, more personalised treatments that could improve their prognosis. So right across the spectrum from early detection through treatment, we're confident that it will make a huge difference and save lives.
The mobile unit is being piloted in North Dublin and the North East. Why were these locations chosen?
So because the programme is an initiative by Beaumont RCSI Cancer Centre, so Professor Jarushka Naidu had the idea from Beaumont to run this programme. She had studied what had been done elsewhere, particularly in Manchester in the UK. There was a pilot lung health check there that started in Manchester and is now being rolled out by the NHS across England. So Professor Naidu studied that and came to the Irish Cancer Society with a proposal to pilot that here. So because she's based in Beaumont Hospital, the catchment area is the Beaumont catchment. But as I said, we are hoping that it will prove the benefits of extending to a national programme that everybody will benefit then from in time if they're at high risk of lung cancer.
And do you have any sort of time frame in mind for being able to roll it out across the rest of the country?
The programme itself will take 6 years, so that's because there's follow-up as well with people who are picked up through the programme. Different cohorts will be going through it. So the initial programme will take 6 years, and that's as well, like, to build a case for a national programme. We need to figure out how to make the pilot work most effectively, so we may need to tweak it, deliver improvements. We need to figure out the kind of resources, the kind of systems that are needed to be able to roll it out across the country.
And you mentioned earlier that lung cancer is one of the cancers that's diagnosed late. Why is it that this particular type of cancer is not caught early?
I think there are a number of reasons. So many people with lung cancer don't have any symptoms until the disease is quite advanced. So there's nothing that they could spot, unfortunately, that would indicate to them that there is a problem. Others do have symptoms, but don't realise that it could be a sign of lung cancer. So there was research done previously where I think only about 30% of people were able to identify symptoms of lung cancer. So that seems like a cough that won't go away, hoarseness, wheeziness, chest infections that don't go away despite taking antibiotics, coughing up blood, even a small amount in phlegm, coughing up blood, or feeling more tired than usual. And sadly, as I said, only a minority of people actually are able to identify those when we've done research on that. So that's why it's also so important to raise awareness. And while, as I said, the lung health check is for people with no symptoms, I would really urge anybody listening who has noticed signs of things I mentioned there, like coughs, chest pain, wheeziness, that they would get those checked out, because look, the chances are that it's not cancer, but if it is, you're far better off getting checked out early and if it is cancer, getting it picked up at that early stage where 9 out of 10 people will survive. So do seek help, go to your GP or call us and talk to one of our cancer specialist nurses for free on 1800 200 700.
And if people want to find out more information about the mobile unit, where can they find it out?
So in time, because the program isn't set up yet, it's starting early next year. In time, there will be a website where people will be able to find out more information if they're curious about it. And those who are being invited to participate will get a letter from their GP notifying them that they've been identified as somebody who could potentially benefit and giving them the opportunity to take part.
Avril Power, CEO of the Irish Cancer Society, thanks very much for joining me on the Health and Fitness Show this evening.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have time for on this week's Health and Fitness.